Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. This is an introduction to budget building, or how to make things for your fish room that cost very little, or in this case here, nothing at all. These are containers that I actually use. They came from the grocery store, obviously. I mean, there's iced tea, cashews, sour cream, but almost any of these containers are useful, and there's so many of them. Gallon jars of pickles. I mean, the list is endless. And when the food is gone, they are very serviceable for a lot of things. I mean, I use the sour cream containers for my micro cultures, but I also use them when I don't drill holes in them for homemade fish foods, small bits and pieces of things that I want to keep track of and just keep like in a separate place and whatnot. And you see me use the iced tea containers for my vinegar cultures. And currently I'm also using them as a brine shrimp hatchery, and they're all very good for that. Now, the little cashew jar is something new. My wife likes those cashews, so we started getting them. So I'm starting to collect those jars. They have a nice handy little handle on them, and I think they're going to be very useful for small little things like transporting fish from here to my clients and that sort of stuff. What I've been using up till now for that, though, is when my son was really young, he really loved peanut butter. And in those days, the peanut butter jars were really rugged. And I still have at least 20 some odd of them in the fish room. And those are what I use primarily for transporting fish from here to a client. And then, of course, if I have to take fish out of a tank, just small fish, that sort of stuff. And if I'm doing a prune on a tank and I want the plants, I put them in there. They have a nice handy lid, and it's just easy to transport stuff around. So those are all things that just simply cost nothing, and they're very easy to work with. So let's move on to some stuff that cost just a little bit. Now, if you remember when I first started trying to do this topic, I had told you that we were going into a lockdown. But this lockdown seems to be rather odd in the sense that we can't go into stores, but they do have some curbside service. But in this particular case, I needed to actually go in and have a look at materials. But there's one little loophole they seem to be working on, and that is if they have what are considered essential items, they're allowed to open up certain aisles of their stores. So in this particular case, a dollar store in the neighborhood was allowed to open up, but the only things they're allowed to sell are anything that's either food related, or tools. So I went in, and a lot of the aisles where I picked up stuff, like these sponges and pads and whatnot, halfway down the aisle, there would be other containers exactly the same as these containers, but slightly different, like for trays, and probably something that would be better for making filters out of. And I couldn't buy those things. So this is going to be a bit of a mishmash of stuff currently. But hopefully when these things start to unwind and loosen up a little bit, I'll be able to get some other stuff as well. So far what you've seen are zip ties, which are just extremely useful for everything, and where you buy them is irrelevant. Just buy the ones that cost the least and are the color you like. They're all very good. I'm sure there are some ultra cheap ones somewhere that just don't work well, but you can get good quality ones quite easily. Now, one thing that I bought here are sponges. Now, these are obviously going to have to be rinsed and re-rinsed before I'll use them, but the biggest problem with them are the cell structure. You see the one on my right hand there? That is called an open cell sponge, and I use them all the time, and they are relatively expensive. It is a good quality material though, and I really like using them. These, on the other hand, are more of a closed cell, and it's very difficult to saturate them with water, and things tend to float and stuff. So if I'm going to use those in a filter, I will probably have to chop them up a little bit so I can get the water to permeate everything. Now, the thing that the dollar store fell down the most on, this may just because I'm a snob, but the tool section is, well, it's pathetic. I mean, there's nothing really there that I would buy and actually use as a tool. The best thing I could find is this. This is just a utility knife, and it will be fine. I suspect the blade will rust quite quickly, but even the good quality blades also rust really quickly. Now, before I move too far into this, one of the things I really like using from dollar stores is that baster. Those basters are really good. I use them all the time. And underneath the sponges you see on the right, Those scouring pads I use all the time, use them for cleaning glass, and in the filter or whatever I tend to build for you guys, which I'm going to leave up to you in a little bit, you're going to have a lot of input in that, of course. I am probably going to use a lot more of those gray pads because they are very good for that sort of thing, and I know they don't deteriorate in water, so it is something else to keep in mind. So container-wise, all I had that I could pick up that wasn't like hard plastic are these sort of, in this case I think they're Betty Crocker, but Rubbermaid, all those sorts of things. They're a softer plastic and something that I'll be able to cut with the utility knife. And unfortunately, the only rigid tubing that I have available, and that's like from these sorts of places, is something like this. I'm going to obviously have to cut this down to make the top a little bit more open, and I can obviously, make a box filter out of this. It will look fine because it is a good quality container, and there are, like I said, there are other options. There are some nice trays there that I can make it like an above tank tower system out of, but I simply don't have access to that right now, so we are going to be limited. So this is one option. I can make a nice little box filter out of this, and I would, in that case, cycle it in one of my aquariums, and then, of course, I would put it into the ammonia tests. This just caught my eye. Obviously, I'd have to remove the spin base on the bottom, but what's going to be left over after that is something that I could pop a hole in on the top chamber, and then I can have a little cascade going down from chamber to chamber with different things in it, and it'd be a very interesting little item. I'm not sure if it's any good as a filter or anything. Unfortunately, I cannot use a utility knife on that. I would have to actually use the, my milling machine or the good quality drill bits, that sort of thing. This, on the other hand, is a soft enough plastic that I think it could be used as some sort of tray filtration system. Obviously, it's going to need to be horizontal, but I can put gravel in that, and I can also mount it above an aquarium. So these are kind of the three things that I have for you guys to go over, to think about for the first build. So in the comment section below, let me know what you would like to see. If you want the simple box filter with the soft plastic container there, the Betty Crocker one, that would probably be the easiest one. So, and also it would run off an air pump, so it would be easy access for a lot of people to put together. The middle one there with the cascading trays obviously is a little bit more specialized, but it could look cool, so that might be an option for you as well. And then the semi-soft plastic black tray system there, I think it could make an interesting filter. It would be a bit of a challenge trying to get through that with a utility knife for each of the flows from one chamber to another. But then again, all it would need to go into that is a bit of sponge, some of the scouring pads, some gravel, and of course, if it's going to sit on an aquarium, it should also be quite easy to put some plants and stuff in that as well. So those are your three options, and it's up to you guys to let me know, and whichever one is the most popular, I will go with first, and then we'll go from there. And always, of course, if you have other ideas, other things you would like to see from the cheap stuff. This is just the stuff I had access to. Like I said, once the store opens up completely, hopefully sometime in the next month, I will be able to get some stackable trays, and we can do a tower system. But you got to keep in mind also that each of these is a little bit different for their requirements for water flow. The simple Betty Crocker food container, that's just an air pump. That's easy. Everyone will have access to that, so that's not a problem. The black tray system, that will require a small water pump, like the one I have on the Javamoss filter at the moment, that sort of size. Maybe a little less powerful, but I can always just turn the other one down, so that would work as well. And as far as the cascading tray system, I think that can go either way, though it is really tiny. It was just something that caught my eye because I was really hard pressed, to tell you the truth, in the couple of sections that were open in the dollar store to find enough actually to put a video together, because like I said, it's not the easiest thing in the first place, and it's hard to find stuff that actually is reasonably aesthetically pleasing. I mean, you don't want something in your aquarium that's going to look really horrid. And unfortunately, there are limited options for that. So above tanks are sometimes better, and that sort of stuff. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will work off of that. And thank you very much for putting up for my long rambling on this. And I know that there are many, many, many more options. This is just simply what was available. And like I said, one of the things that I found out when I was doing this is it is not as cheap as it seems. Like, you go in there and you think you're going to save a lot of money. All of this came to $36. So it's not free. And to let you know, as an example, actually my most recent box filter with the 2 stages, all the materials to put that together comes up to I think it's just under $20. So again, like I said, you're not saving a ton of money. Obviously I bought way more here than I needed because I wanted to give you guys lots of options, but again, I said cheap is not always the best way to go. So anyway, thank you again for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.